Rashida Tlaib is telling Democrats to vote uncommitted on the ballot in Michigan's February 27th primary. President Biden is expected to win the Democratic primary in the state, but Tlaib has been attacking Biden for not calling for a ceasefire in Israel's war against the terrorist group Hamas. This is Tlaib's latest show of opposition against Biden. And according to the latest Decision Desk HQ polls, Biden trails former President Donald Trump in the state by about 3 percentage points in what is a key battleground state. Remember, Trump won Michigan back in 2016, the first time a Republican had done so since 1988, but Biden won it back in 2020. Tlaib's latest voter mobilization effort now is arguably done more to hurt Biden than RFK Jr. and No Labels combined. Here with the latest is Mychael Schnell. Mychael, obviously a reporter for us at The Hill. How can Biden firm up the Democratic base when he's got a member of his own party going out there in the state and saying, don't show up and turn out?
Yeah, Kevin, this has been tough for Biden throughout since October 7th, since Hamas attacked Israel. It's been a thorn in his side how to handle the progressive wing of his party, because a number of progressives, including Tlaib up on Capitol Hill, have criticized the president for his handling of the situation in Israel and in Gaza with Hamas's attack. They've been very critical of his actions. And now sort of we're seeing those frustrations bubble over with a Democrat actually taking that drastic step of urging voters in their state, let alone a swing state, a very important one, not to vote for the president. And Kevin, I'll note, Michigan's primary is in a week from today, February 27th. Voters are going to head to the polls. So this is a real problem President Biden has, and it's something that he's been grappling with, again, since October 7th. We're now seeing him be a bit critical of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that the Israeli response has been a little overboard at some points. We'll see if that'll assuage any of that progressive concern, but no doubt the left wing of the party is very frustrated with President Biden.
I gotta call it like I see it, Mychael, because when you're up there interviewing them yesterday, it's very confusing to follow Senator Lindsey Graham and what he's saying on his foreign policy. I'm equally as confused by this dubious position by Congresswoman Tlaib, because on the one hand, Congresswoman Tlaib is saying that she doesn't want the U.S. to interfere in foreign affairs, but in this case, she's saying that she wants the president in her party to call for a ceasefire with a terrorist organization that attacked Israel. So when you're interviewing her, when you're talking to her staffers, what's the logic that they're saying? I mean, what more do they want Biden to do? He's helped on humanitarian aid. He's provided, he's worked with the international community to try to bring about a meaningful, lasting peace. What more do they want from him?
It's two things that we're really hearing, Kevin. A is just that repeated criticism about humanitarian deaths in the Gaza Strip, about the extent of the Israeli response to Hamas's attack on October 7th. And the second thing is we continue to hear about wanting a ceasefire, wanting to see this immediate ceasefire between Israel and Hamas to allow for more transfer of hostages. Now, there have been some offers previously that have been shut down by the two sides, but we're continuing to hear this call from a ceasefire from these progressive lawmakers. And, you know, whether or not we'll see one in the coming days, there is that UN resolution that's coming up soon that we could potentially hear from. But I mean, there is this constant push and pull on the left wing of the Democratic Party when it comes to this issue of Israel. And it's paying President Biden no favors, especially as we're getting closer to that general election season.
Just one more question for you on this. You mentioned the UN. There are some UN officials and new reports out that suggest that President Biden and the administration are going to have some language in the latest UN resolutions to call for a temporary ceasefire. What's your reporting have on that?
Yeah, so CNN had a report on this, I believe, yesterday or early this morning. They actually viewed that draft resolution from the UN that they're going to be proposing at the UN Security Council, and essentially it says that there should be a temporary ceasefire in Gaza as soon as practicable. And that language is very significant here, Kevin, because we've seen calls from other entities, from other countries about having an immediate ceasefire ASAP right now. Let's get to it. The U.S. saying, no, slow your roll. We want to see this as soon as it's possible, as soon as it's practicable. The UN is actually this morning going to be voting on a resolution, I believe, from Algeria that calls for that immediate ceasefire, something that the U.S. has vowed to veto. Whether or not we will see a vote on this proposed draft of the U.S. resolution at UN, that remains to be seen. But take note of that specific difference in language, not an immediate ceasefire, but one as soon as it's practicable.
All right, meanwhile, Biden's got to deal with Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib out there in Michigan, and he's also got to deal with the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, but Biden says he's willing to negotiate with Speaker Johnson as it relates to foreign aid for Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel. What negotiations can there be? I mean, do you see the votes in the House for this?
Yeah, Kevin, look, this is how Washington works. You see one side call for a meeting, this, that, the other day. Constantly, the other side say, I don't think we need to have a meeting. In this case, House Speaker Mike Johnson has been asking for a meeting with the president. Biden has been rebuffing those requests. Now we are finally seeing Biden say, all right, well, I'll meet with the guy if he has something new to say. Speaker spokesperson saying if they are happy to see this about face from the president, they'd be willing to sit down with them. But what really can come from those conversations, Kevin, remains to be seen. Remember, we did see the president sit down with the speaker previously with that big group of national security and foreign policy lawmakers on Capitol Hill. That meeting took place at the White House. We saw nothing come out of that. And we've seen this back and forth between the Biden administration, the Senate, and the speaker when it comes to a foreign aid package, national security package that have led to no breakthroughs. First, Republicans in the House, including Speaker Mike Johnson, were calling for any Ukraine aid to be paired with border security. So what happened there? The Senate launched bipartisan talks and they came to an agreement on border security after 4 months when these talks fell apart a number of times. Folks said it was the most conservative border security policy they had seen in years, and the House shot that down. Mike Johnson, even before the ink was dry on this agreement, saying that it would be dead on arrival in the House. Now, after the Senate passes this foreign aid package without border security, right, Mike Johnson won't bring it to the floor. I mean, I don't know what the way out of the box is here, other than Mike Johnson, having to take a difficult step and maybe see a challenge to his gavel.
All right, final question for you. Alabama ruled that frozen embryos are children. What have the Democrats been saying on this point?
Abortion and the policy of the conversation about the unborn child and that entire conversation and topic has been a really dominating thing in the 2022 midterm elections. That's one of the reasons why, after Republicans had predicted this red wave, it was really blunted. And we only saw a small pickup by Republicans for the House and the Senate, particularly the House. That's why we see all these issues, because House Republicans have such a slim majority. Democrats have said that abortion is going to be continue to be the issue on the campaign trail in 2024. So anything to bring that back into the news cycle is something that's going to be welcomed by Democrats, because they believe after 2022 that their message on abortion works at the ballot box. All
right, Mychael Schnell, The Hill's Mychael Schnell, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Banking giant Capital One announced Monday it will acquire Discover for $35.3 billion in an all-stock deal. The acquisition would bring together two of the country's biggest credit card companies, becoming the largest credit card lender. The pairing is almost certain to face regulatory scrutiny. Capital One says it expects the deal to be finalized by next year. And that's it for today's Daily Debrief. My name is Kevin Cirilli. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to The Hill's YouTube channel. And come back here soon for the intersection between politics and policy.